Welcome back, everyone, to the front line with Joe and Joe Pasillo. As always, joined by Joe Rossinello. And once more, dear brothers and sisters, let us go into the breach. So we're going live tonight. Now, we're going a little bit old school. Joe, in the beginning, when we were sitting in his basement, when the only people watching were his wife, my wife, and our friend Vinny, okay, we would just talk. And for a variety of technical reasons, we don't have our clips tonight, but we're just going to talk tonight. And there's a lot to talk about. So we thank you for joining us as always. Normally we go live Thursday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern time. I had a little bit of a personal issue, so I couldn't do that. However, we're here Sunday afternoon, and we're going to get into a really good conversation. Joe, I will say this. I have been somewhat disappointed so far with on certain levels. I'm going to say completely, but on certain levels with Trump's policy, some of the things he's done, the big, supposedly beautiful bill and all that. Okay. But there are things that are going on where I'm starting to get a little bit more optimistic. I'm turning the corner. Okay. And I admit that because I think you and I are very much realists. And when it comes to Donald Trump and the things that he has to do, because we live in a democracy, he has political considerations. He's not going to give us everything we want. But I think I'm turning the corner a little bit on Trump based on a few things that happened during the week, all right, and with the Senate. And what do you think? What do you think's going on out there? What's your view of the landscape?
Well, obviously, I'm not happy with the budget. The budget shows, to be honest with you, that he'll only take it so far. I voted for him to basically crack the establishment. He went along with the establishment on the budget. That was very disappointing. It added $10 trillion to the debt. We're up to $37 trillion. That will one day be the end of America, the debt. That is our greatest enemy. Those who are listening, pay attention to that. Seriously, the debt, eventually, that will crush us. I can't predict. No one can predict when. That is a bad situation. All presidents do is just kick the can down the road, and he continued to do it. In fact, he added to it. I'm also not happy about Trump, as I've been unhappy with his position on Israel, and we could talk about that a little bit more. I think particularly this week, and actually in a few previous weeks, Tucker Carlson blew a hole in the Israeli lobby with the Ted Cruz interview with, I think it was Marsheimer. I may be saying it incorrectly. He's a professor at University of Chicago. He's on Glenn Greenwald's show a lot. He was recently on and talking about Israeli foreign policy for decades, all the way back to 1948. Very informative conversation, something that people should watch. And then recently, he had on a Green Beret who basically is retired, and he was a contractor working in Gaza. Dude, it was damaging. And keep this in mind, Tucker Carlson has a humongous audience. It's not like I'm carrying water for Tucker Carlson. His audience is massive, and the conversations were damning. I mean, Joe, damning. Like, this is not like someone who, like, we might get a few thousand views. And, that's not bad. We've been doing that for some time. But he's getting hundreds of thousands of views per clip.
Right.
This is like damning stuff. And I'll be honest with you, is particularly after that Green Beret conversation, which dropped this week. Dude, I'll be honest. He basically called Netanyahu a war criminal. I mean, Israel basically, that man was basically saying that Israel is basically committing a genocide. A lot of voices were being said in that direction, but this guy was showing pictures, video that he took, showing it. And I'll be honest with you. In my opinion, they overplayed their hand on this. Like, granted, I'm not undercutting October 7th. That was a horrible thing. But that doesn't give you carte blanche to herd a population into a ghetto. And that's exactly what's going on.
Chris Ferrara, who's somebody that I listen to, he's with the St. Thomas More Society. He's been in the Catholic front line for a long time. And and he made a point that what's going on does not conform to the principles of just war theory when it comes to fighting a war. That, and I'm paraphrasing him. I don't want to put on him something, but it seemed to me what he was saying was it's gone beyond that. You've gone beyond defending yourself. And everybody now, if you said to me after October 7th, Israel does not have the right to defend themselves, I would
No, that's
disagree
not
with
what
you. I would say no, 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 no. Let's remember, and see, Joe, this is where I think you and I and many others, because we strive anyway, fail sometimes, strive mostly to remain objective. The attack on October 7th was a legit
horrible.
attack, to which a response was deserved. Okay. We know what Hamas is all about. We know what Hezbollah is all about. We know what they're all about. And we as Catholics certainly know what they're all about, because our history with Islam goes back 1,300 years. So we understand what they're all about. However, they would have had the world's sympathy, but you said it right. As Christopher Arra said, this does not comport with any idea of
No.
fighting a just war. No, just war means, yes, okay, if it comes to that, after negotiation, after diplomacy, after all of it, if it comes down to you just can't come to terms and you go to war, when the war is over and your enemy is vanquished, you got to stop. And I think the world rightly perceives. We're not on the side of all these wacko leftists from the river to the sea idiots. We know what they're all about. It's not about that. But it's a matter of telling Israel and Americans telling Israel, you guys are going too far. I have eyes to see. I have ears to hear. And everything I see and everything I hear tells me you guys are going too far. As Joe Rossinello said, you're overplaying your hand.
You can't just listen. I understand, like you said, Israel's a sovereign nation and they have a right to defend themselves. You cannot put people in a ghetto. That's what they're doing. They basically are leveling, if not leveled, the whole entire area and placed them in a ghetto, and they're starving them. Dude, this is footage from that guy. He's showing you footage. That is insane. And I'm going to tell you this. The world is not going to deal with it. The people have lost patience, as in the population. It's just a matter of the leaders catching up. And what do I mean by that? We're one president away. We talked about this a little bit last week, from basically a Security Council vote to say Palestine's a nation. One. And the people, I think, on this one have had it. And if I'm gonna even throw a theory. I actually think Hamas understands Netanyahu and why October 7th was so graphic and so horrible was they wanted this response, because they don't care about the people either. They wanted him to do this because it grabs the attention of the world. I actually think that was part of the strategy.
But isn't Israel supposed to be smarter than that and not fall into that trap? See, I don't want to show sympathy towards Hamas. And quite frankly, I don't show.
But I'm not even talking about Hamas. These are people,
right?
Like
right.
regular people that live there, and there's millions of them, Joe.
Yes.
Like we're talking. It's not like there's 50. Like there was a massive population of Palestinians. Like they're basically they like fence them off.
Right.
Joe, like that would be like, to be honest with you, something bad happened in New York. You're living in Lyndhurst where you were living, and they just came into your house and basically said, you can't live here anymore, Joe. We're leveling your apartment. You got to go live in Kearney. And you're going to live where there's no stores, and we're going to bring in food 2 times a week.
Right. And you get what you get.
So I mean, and you have a family. I mean, that's not acceptable under any circumstance, dude. Any circumstance. Like that's not Hamas. And you have to separate the two conversations. You don't have carte blanche to bulldoze people, like all people. That's completely against every rule of the Geneva Convention. I don't know them all by heart, but I'll bet you that it is. And it's being, you got to remember, this is the age of the internet. There's tapes of this. This is not bullcrap. And like you can watch it.
Right. You can
People
what
like
you
are
like you said.
starving. They're starving. They're dying. And
Right.
I'm going to be truthful with you. I think they overplayed their hand, and I'll be truthful with you. I think they're putting their own sovereign nation at stake by doing this. I think they're hurting themselves. My opinion.
I think you're exactly right. I think that they are hurting themselves because there are some times in let's talk about, let's keep it with Jewish history for a second, okay, where the outrage against those who would perpetrate crimes against them is completely justified. So if you look at, let's say, Nazi persecution of the Jews, if you look at the Hamas and the rest of them, all that hard crew in the Middle East, their view of Jews, where you turn and say, well, wait a minute. You can't do this to these people simply because you don't like Jews, okay? You can't do that. And the world understands that and says, well, you can't do that. We fought a world war. Okay, part of it, not the whole thing, of course, but part of it was how the Nazis were treating the Jews, particularly after we found and liberated the concentration camps and all that stuff. But E. Michael Jones makes a very good point. All right, and I know that he's number one on the ADL hit list. E. Michael Jones makes a very good point. You squander your sympathy, and I'm paraphrasing, but the way I read E. Michael Jones, you squander the sympathy that you would get from the world when those who would persecute you, when you turn around and then you want to do something like this. How do you expect me to be sympathetic towards you if, let's say, for example, we're talking, keep it with Netanyahu for a second. And by the way, there's a lot of Jews in Israel that
100%.
do not agree with this. They do not agree with this. Okay. Those people, by the way, don't get time on CNN. They don't get time on MSNBC. Those in Israel, regardless of their political stripes, say, we can't do this. Okay. You look at, let's say, for argument's sake, the Morgenthau plan after World War II, where Morgenthau, who is FDR's Secretary of State, E. Michael Jones talks about this all the time. He says he wanted to kill 20% of the German population. And the world and the Allies rightfully said, many, some agreed with it. So many were like, hold it. The war's over. What do you mean you want to get rid of 20 million people and starve them to death? What are you talking about? Like completely starving these people. And people say, well, that's conspiracy theory. But just as you said, look online. You can go look with your own eyes. These children, yes, women and children. And Joe and I are not some weak-kneed liberals who just go like this, oh, the women and children. There are actually women and children and innocent civilians dying in Gaza right now at the hands of the Israelis. And they squander. And needless to say, and let me throw in one more thing and I'll throw it over to you. And then we're going to get onto a couple of other things. We've got a great show for you tonight. Great conversation with Joe and I. No clips tonight. It's Joe and I tonight. Stream of consciousness. So you love it. And if you love it, share it. Share it with other people. Okay. But if you look at you look at everything that they're doing, yes, just to reiterate my point, they're squandering the sympathy that most people, rightfully, I think, would have with them after October 7th, because they're turning around. I look at it this way, this is the point I was going to get to. Joe, it looks like a war of pictures. Now, when I see the pictures of the Israeli women that were raped by Hamas and what Hamas is doing, it is so absolutely evil, diabolical, disgusting what they do. And if you target Netanyahu, every single one of those guys, and take them out, my hand's raised. God bless you. Take them out. That's not what you're doing, though. So you have pictures of Israeli women being raped. They have pictures of women and children being starved. And you know where it's getting us? Absolutely nowhere. It's only causing more and more and more outrage.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think the world has had it, Joe. I'll be honest with you. I think they're undoing themselves by doing this. I really do. And I don't think they care. That's another thing. That's the sickest part. I really don't. And I'll be truthful with you. Where this is going to go, no one knows. I don't think it's going to go well for Israel. actually. And here's the worst part about it. America is on the wrong side of history on Gaza. We're on the wrong side of history, and Trump's not going to do a damn thing because of the Jewish lobby. And that's a fact.
No,
And
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree with you on that. The problem in America is Christian Zionism, and that's what a
well,
lot of people
that is a
want.
big problem, and that's
It's a
another
very big
twisted
problem.
conversation that was addressed. That's a 19th century heresy addressed by the Catholic Church. That
Yes,
is that is a 19th century heresy.
right.
You can't convince any of them. Like say take a person again. I like him, Mike Huckabee. I think he's a great man. I think he's a good soul. He's very smart. I heard a clip of him say, quote unquote, my faith is dependent upon Israel. Their faith is not dependent upon me. Meaning, in the Christian Zionist mind, they believe the second coming is contingent upon the fact that Christ has to return to Israel once they establish their nation.
Right.
And that gives them, in their mind, almost carte blanche to do
Yeah.
anything. And that is crazy. That is crazy, dude.
Well, and let's be clear. Let's be clear. It's an absolute misunderstanding of what Israel is biblically. Again,
Well,
going
that's
back to
another
Chris,
conversation. That's good. We got to
going
get
back
into
to
that
Chris
whole
Ferrara.
conversation.
All right, because I was watching him recently.
100%.
I was watching. The idea is you have to get straight, and like you said, it is a conversation for another day. What do we mean by Israel? Tucker Carlson brought this up to Ted Cruz and said, "You're going to tell me that God, me as a Christian, that God is commanding me to support this Israeli government right now? That somehow I'm cursing the Israeli people and the Jews if I don't agree with Netanyahu's government, or Ehud Barak's government, or Barak's government, or back in the day Ariel Sharon or Menachem Begin. So you're telling me I have to support their government in order for me to be a good Christian, and that's why it's a heresy." Joe, I'll give you the
Well,
final
no,
word
it
on
is,
that.
and it's a twisted theological view. Um, I mean, even if you read the Old Testament, the Jews were kicked out of their land based upon them straying from God a lot. That
Right.
happened a lot in the Old Testament. And the majority of the state of Israel is secular. I think the last I heard, it's only 15% like as in
Right.
practicing like Jews. They're ethnically Jews, clearly, but only 15% are very religious. It's a secular nation,
Yeah.
especially places like Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv's like Europe, no different.
Tel Aviv is the
And
gayest country in the world, the
and
gayest city in the world.
you could talk to Hasidic Jews in America. They distance themselves from Zionists.
They don't want
Jews,
anything. They don't want
Jews,
anything to do with
not
that.
like we're talking about Jews. So this is my point. Like there is like, and here's the interesting thing about this particular time. There was a stigma around having this type of conversation. We're not bashing Jews. We're talking about their foreign policy. It has nothing to do with the Jewish people. It has
No.
nothing to do with anything but their foreign policy. And I have every right to agree or disagree with it, just like I could agree or disagree with my own foreign policy in my own country. I'm entitled to an opinion. I also have eyes to see and I could read. So I have every right to make a statement. You couldn't make the statement because there was a stigma around it, and that was used. That's gone. And that's why, as of late, because they overplayed their hand,
Yeah.
they had a protection. You could not do what Tucker Carlson just did. Like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, he would have been labeled a bigot. He would have been on the ADL list for merely stating his views on what's going on in Gaza. He has every right to. He's not saying from what's it called, from sea, like whatever, like get rid. No, he's not
From the
saying that.
river to the sea or
He's not
whatever.
saying that. People who say that are crazy. What he's saying is you're persecuting regular people. You're ethnically cleansing a region.
Yeah.
You're ethnically cleansing a region. And that is a no-no, no matter who's doing it. And he has every right to say that.
Yes.
And that stigma is gone. And that's why I think, to be honest with you, they're in trouble.
They need to get into the back room. They need to get into the back room at the highest level of the government and with the Mossad and say, we need to change gears. They are going to continue to lose any sympathy they have. Okay. And by the way, just as in one final goes, Joe and I think very highly of E. Michael Jones. We've had him on the show twice, and we respect him. Okay, we might not agree with him on everything, but we respect him. And he said, he goes, in fairness to him, Joe, he's been saying a lot of this stuff for over a decade.
No,
okay?
Many
He's
ways.
been saying the phrase you used, and I know you weren't plagiarizing him. I know you were using it sincerely. Was always, you're overplaying your hand. Which means you have a hand. You have a hand. All right. You have cards in your hand, but you're overplaying them. And this particular government, the Netanyahu government, okay, you're overplaying it. You're going too far. The world is turning against you. Okay.
Big time.
So any sympathy that you might rightfully deserve, okay, as a group, we're not going to get into all that. Okay, I could sympathize with you. I can, especially since we know what the radical Muslims are all about. We know that, so we're not exonerating them. But yes, you guys are going too far. You're with the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo, Joe Rosinello. We're going. Catholic Cristero says dispensationalism. Exactly right. Dispensationalism. It's a heresy, as Joe pointed out, that was condemned over 100 years ago. Go educate yourselves on what the Catholic Church teaches on what Israel is, and then it might help you to get a little clarification as to what's going on. Because Mike Huckabee, by the way, real quick, Joe, before we go and go on to the next topic, he condemned the attack on the Catholic Church. He came out.
Same with Michael. Michael knows. I think you're going to see more voices out there.
Yes,
I really do, and I think they're going to be strong. And like I said, they're people you never would guess. Like Mike Huckabee is a Christian Zionist all the way, and for him, this is my point. It has nothing to do with bashing Jews. It has everything to do with you're taking it too far.
That's right,
way too far, and it's going to hurt you, your nation. Right. Your nation.
You're right. And again, these are smart people. I'm not saying they're not smart people, but when they get in the back room, they're going to have to deal with the reality of the situation. And the reality of the situation, then we're going to move on, is they're losing the sympathy of the world. Okay. And if they don't want that to happen, they need to regroup and they need to rethink what they're doing in Gaza. You're with the front line with Joe and Joe Pasillo and Joe Rosinello. We're weighing the breach. The title of tonight's show is Trump Holds Europe to Account. We'll get into a little bit more of a positive story. All right. But and we're gonna talk about the trade deal with Europe, because not for nothing, Joe. Sorry. This one's fantastic. This is where I'm going to give Trump credit. But before then, let's talk about shadiness. Let's talk about corruption. Why is it a problem? There's an act called the Pelosi Act.
Oh, that's perfectly named.
All right. Absolutely. I'm surprised he's even standing for it without getting crazy. Like an old Italian grandmother. She gets all freaking crazy. Okay. No, Nancy, listen, you came into the House 35 years ago, or whenever it was. You were worth a couple $1 million, and now you're worth $300-400 million, and you're going to convince us because it's of your hard work and your acumen and your intelligence.
Well,
no,
she says it's my husband, as if they don't talk.
Right. What? So if you tell your husband you should be buying NVIDIA, and your husband buys NVIDIA, oh, that's not insider trading. Of course it's insider trading. Now, why is there a problem trying to pass an act that says that members of Congress, members of the House of Representatives, and members of the Senate, Hawley's out there speaking his mind, is saying, well, guess what? We have information, and he made it clear, Joe, that technically the information that they get in the trading that's done on that information is not considered insider information, technically under the law. Now, he was right about that. But what he's not wrong about, okay, is that, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't pass a law that says you can't act on that either. Case in point, COVID. You're going into a back room. You're going to go talk about vaccines. You're about to mandate vaccines all across the country. It's not known to the public yet. The two main companies that are doing the vaccines are Moderna and Pfizer. And all you guys go out and you start buying calls on Moderna and Pfizer and buying the stock. And Josh Hawley's saying, you can't do that. And the Pelosi Act says you can't do that. Why can't that pass,
Joe,
Joe?
do you know that it was like an 8-7 vote or something? People are actually, you see, this is where people don't pay attention. Because part of the reason why it doesn't get enough press. Like to hear Josh Hawley speak on that, you got to go on C-SPAN. Very few people listen to C-SPAN. Like the average American isn't watching C-SPAN, hearing the live footage from a hearing. Very few people do that. So this is where the American people are not informed. That's number one. It's common sense. How could that be just? It's not information that you or I have, which means that other people have an advantage. That's not what America is all about. We're all supposed to be equal, right? We know that's not the case, but let's all pretend. In this particular case, they're not even pretending. It's
Right.
absurd. It's
Yep.
absurd. And it's been going on for so long. It is such a blatant disregard for everything the country stands for. Whatever you call yourself, Republican, Democrat, it doesn't
Doesn't
matter.
matter. On this particular issue, it doesn't matter for anything. How does Joe, let me ask you a question. I'm going to throw it right back to you. How does AOC go from bartender, winning an election that was funded by Soros and others, okay, with very low turnout, because Crowley, who had that seat, thought, well, who's this chick? She's not going to win. He dropped the ball. She wins with no turnout whatsoever, okay? And she goes from bartender to a $200,000 a year job as a member of the House to multimillionaire. Danilo, are you back?
Here we go. Yeah, I'm back.
All right. So sorry about that, everybody. Hopefully we weren't gone for too long. Anyway, I was talking while we were in limbo there about the Pelosi Act, appropriately named. They You can't go, and I think where we got cut off was you can't convince me. Again, this is where I get mad at the media and the elitists because I just say things and you say things, and many people out there who listen to the front line with Joe and Joe, we say things that are obvious. How do you go from being a bartender to winning an election in Queens with very little turnout, funded from the outside from people we don't even know, probably Soros, okay? You get into the House, you're probably making a couple $100,000 a year, okay, at that point, and now you're a multimillionaire. I just described AOC, all right? It does not happen in the real world. And the reason why I'm saying it like that is because you people don't live in the real world because you think that we should be prosecuted. Like if I was a stockbroker and I knew inside information and I gave it to Joe Rossinello, you'll want both of us to go to jail. But they all could get away with it.
No, but I blame people. People are okay with it. I mean, like I blame people. We should be absolutely, positively outraged. Everyone should be outraged, but we're not. That's why it continues. And of course, they're not going to vote for it. It's a gravy train. It's like winning the lottery to get elected into one of these positions. Literally, it's like a lottery ticket. And that's what they do. It's disgusting. And this is why our country, to be honest with you, it's like, Joe, it's a banana republic. In the last 5 years, what has been shown, and we don't even know the half of it, to the American people, that's why people are completely disenfranchised. They're just basically like, I've had it. I'm like that, to be honest with you. I think it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. It really is a disgrace.
Now, this was not this go around on the Pelosi Act. This was one from a few months ago. Josh Hawley is making a very, very, very sound, logical, legal argument, ethical argument, why members of the Senate should not be acting on information that they received that's not available to the public at large. Is anything I said there, Joe, white supremacist, racist, anti-Semitic, misogynistic, anything? It's just plain as the nose on your face. And who argued with him on the Republican side that we shouldn't do this? Mitt Romney.
Well, that doesn't shock me at all.
Not even a little bit.
Not at all.
Not even a little bit.
And this is where people have to figure this out a little bit more. People aren't paying attention. They're not informed. Mitt Romney and his type of like representation, and there's tons of it, they got to go. They have to go. Have to. And
Joe, let me ask you something. Listen, you and I have known each other for over 10 years now. Okay. Well, maybe like 15 years now. Okay. And in all our conversations, could you like is there anything like we always have talked about corruption in Newark and New Jersey and everything else? Then when we started doing this show, it's like I remember I've asked you, Joe, where am I wrong, Joe? Where am I wrong? How do we allow somebody like Mitt Romney? Or I think and the reason why I'm bringing it up, I know you voted for Mitt Romney. I voted for Mitt Romney. If you ask me what vote I regret that vote. How does he get up there and justify that it's okay for him, and he needs to, by the way, to be able to trade on information for like for some superfluous reason, on information that the rest of us don't have? And I sit there and I say, and I always, whenever I see this stuff online, Joe, I always think of you and our audience. I think, is anybody going to be enraged by this? Is anybody going to actually turn around and do anything about this? Like why Mitt Romney still even has a voice in America? And I'm basing it on this and a lot of other things, but I'm basing it on this primarily. You're telling us, and I'm going to throw it over to you, it's okay for you to get rich, even though I can't take the same information before the rest of everybody gets it. And it's not okay for me to make money on that, but it's okay for you to add to your hundreds of millions of dollars in wealth. And we're the bad guys. We're MAGA. And Mitt Romney hates us, by the way. Not that we're MAGA, but you know what I mean. He hates us simply because we point our finger and say, you're wrong for doing this. Joe, you got to help me, brother.
No, people just aren't.
I don't understand.
People aren't paying attention. There's too many people that are indifferent. And they're not informed. It comes down to that. And it's sad. That's one of the biggest problems that we face as American citizens. And they want it that way. People are not informed. They have an ill-formed education system, and then the press does not do its job. That should be a headline every single night. Every night. Things like that. Why do we still vote by mail? Ask yourself that. We went from 30%, it should never even been 30% before COVID. Now it's 70%. Why do we still vote by
Well, we're going to
talk
get
about
into
that,
this.
and they're fighting that too. You got
Well,
people.
here. We don't have the clips tonight. Tonight, if you're just joining us here at the front line with Joe and Joe, no clips. We're going old school. Joe and I, when we were in our basement, Joe's basement, 2018, and the only three people were watching was his wife, my wife, and our friend Vinny. Okay, and that's truth. On Facebook. And we went live just to have conversations. That's all we're doing tonight. Just a couple of regular guys joined here by all you wonderful people out there at the front line with Joe. You need identification to vote.
That's common sense. And anybody who says, listen, the strategy was very clear. Why did they open up the border? They opened up the border because they could not convince the population about their ideology. How do I know that? That's what they did in Europe. They did the same thing in Europe. And the UK, Ireland, and France, to name 3 countries, are a wasteland. They're one event away from a revolution. They did the same thing here. It just didn't work. But that's why. And then you have people saying it out loud, like Governor Murphy. Now they want to redistrict congressional areas because of what they did.
Right.
This was all about power. It has nothing to do with helping people, giving them a chance. First of all, America has always done that. We let in more people than probably any country legally and have forever.
Right.
That's still going on. This is not what this was about. And in doing that, rents went up, salaries went down for the working poor and the working class of America. They did that. And they overburdened cities like New York. The mayor of New York, Eric Adams, said it. He didn't have the money to handle the overflow.
And then they indicted him.
And this is my point. This is not just New York that's been going. They did that at your expense to get an ideology passed that wasn't in your, as in we the people's interest.
Right.
People are asleep at the wheel. Joe, they're asleep at the wheel.
No, wait, Joe, they won't be asleep. They won't be asleep when all this crap slaps them right in their face. They won't be asleep. And look what they did to Emil Bove, all right, who Trump put up as a judge, or I forgot what it was, but the way they tried to hammer him on Eric Adams, okay? And he was, by the way, cool as a cucumber. And his last name's Bove, so I want to say that he's probably at least part Italian, okay? Cool as a cucumber, didn't let them get to him, didn't let them rattle him, but they kept hammering on Eric Adams. You indicted one of your own. The same way, by the way, we've seen what they've done to RFK Jr., the same way that what they've done to Tulsi Gabbard. These are all Democrats, Joe, last time I checked. They're not Republicans. They're not MAGA. RFK Jr. is not MAGA. RFK Jr. happens to agree with Trump on certain things. That's why he's in his position, okay? Eric Adams happens to agree, like you said rightfully. New York City's got his back against the wall because of everything that's going on. So he's got to look for some help for his city. He's elected, puts his hand on the Bible because he's got to protect the people of New York City. And what do? And Bove didn't fall for the trap because they kept trying to hammer. They indicted Eric Adams because he went against them. That's what happened there. He said, "I'm not. You guys are putting me in a spot that I can't handle. I'm the mayor of the biggest city in the world, and I have to deal with this problem." And what is their response? They indicted the guy, all because he wants to have some law and order. Now, you and I would vote for Eric Adams if we were in New York City or lived in New York City. Okay, probably would. I know I would, at least. Definitely against this guy Mamdani. Okay, this communists are about to bring in. My larger point is that they keep demagoguing the issue. They make it seem like it's about people's rights. We had a clip. We're not playing it tonight of Chuck Schumer saying,
Oh,
we're gonna go back to Jim Crow. Jim, are you calling me an effing? See, if I ever saw Joe, I'm a Catholic man and you're a Catholic man. If you ask me if there's one person I could punch in the face, it would be Chuck Schumer, and I wouldn't do it. Before anybody says I'm being violent, I would never do it. Okay. I would prevent myself, but he's a guy who warrants that type of thing. Why are you calling people racist?
well, because
they want to have ID when somebody goes and votes.
Joe, the sad part is people eat that up. The
Oh,
human
yeah.
mind has like a way of compartmentalizing logic and facts. They eat that crap up. He knows what he's doing. These people know how to pull people's strings. That's what they're good at. They understand how people tick. That's how they stay in office. And it's sad. He does not care about equity. He cares about maintaining his power, nothing more. Not allowing people, well, preventing people from not showing. Dude, that's just crazy. That's
Right.
crazy. What that does, and this is what Clarence Thomas wrote in his opinion in 2000 after frigging the Supreme Court refused to take the case from Pennsylvania. You should read it. He said it's dangerous because people lose confidence in the election system. And many people feel that way. They don't have confidence in it anymore. And that's a dangerous place. That's when people, frankly, resort to violence. That's where you have riots. That's where you have all sorts of craziness. You have to secure the election for the good of the people, the country, the safety of the people. And they're not interested in that. And again,
they're not interested in that worldwide.
But even like, do people pay attention? This is the thing that frustrates me, Joe, with all this stuff. Like, it's not like I just want a safe country for my kids. I'll be honest with you. I'm 55 years old, dude. Like I'm on the back six in plain English. I just want a safe country for my children. And I don't see that. I wish I did. In the last 5 years, you had people in Michigan firebombing or getting arrested for trying to kill the governor of Michigan. They firebomb Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. You try to kill a Supreme Court justice. You shoot the president one time, shoot him, other time try to shoot him. You assassinate 2 representatives in Minnesota. And recently you set a person on fire in Virginia.
Right.
This is America. This is in the last 5 years, Joe. Like, this is America.
Yeah.
Like you see these things and you're just like, what is going on? And it's all because of if you ask me, people don't have faith in the system anymore. So they're taking things into their own hands. Securing the elections is a top priority.
Right.
And yet they don't care. They don't care about anything.
Because securing elections implies that the people might turn against you and you will lose.
And that's, Joe, bingo. It's all about ideology.
But then if that's your problem, and this is where I get angry, if that's your problem, then don't tell me you believe in democracy.
They don't.
Because you don't.
They don't.
You don't.
And that's a fact.
See, I have to accept when Barack Obama, when Bill Clinton got elected in 92 and 96, and I had to, as a conservative Republican ostensibly in my life, I have to accept that Barack Obama got elected in 08 and 012. I know that Joe Biden and his minions robbed the election in 2020. I don't have to accept that. I did accept Obama's election twice. I did. I thought Romney was a weak candidate, and he dropped the ball, and he allowed Barack Obama in October to surge. And I respect that because I respect the system, because I respect democracy. But then don't tell me that you respect democracy if you're okay with all of this.
Well, because
BS.
It's about power, it's about their own agenda, and frankly, they don't. And they don't respect regular people. They don't care about you. They think they know. The reason why it's about the institutional democracy, and many of the people that support these people, they think they simply just know better.
Right.
I know better than you, and this is for your own good too.
But again, then that goes back to my point, Joe. And I know you agree with me. But then don't tell me you respect democracy.
Well, they don't. But
I am a
that's how the
Roman
human
Catholic.
mind works. People
But no,
just
I get it. I get it. But here's the thing. If I turn around to CNN and MSNBC and I say, my worldview, the way I look at the world, the way economics should work and politics should work and all these things is informed by the fact, not the idea or just merely some arbitrary self-identification, is informed by the fact that in this order, I am a Roman Catholic, American male of Italian descent, okay? And that everything I just said informs my worldview. If you tell me that there's something wrong with the way I think, then you don't respect democracy.
Well,
you don't respect democracy.
They clearly
now,
don't.
you can say that in the public. Real quick, I'll throw it over to you. You could say that in the public square, in the public, the arena of free ideas, and criticize me in that regard. But when it comes to voting and how I vote and who I vote for, you cannot have anything to say about that. If you're a rabid, secular, atheist, baby-killing, scumbag, homosexual, you still have a right to vote. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not taking away your right to vote. Don't take away mine. And that's what they want to do.
Well, here's another thing in terms of imposing a will. As a Catholic, dude, my worldview is vehemently on the opposite side of the street from the average American. I don't contracept. I believe in traditional marriage. I could go on and on. Things that like normal, quote unquote, American people think that's crazy. I'm a Catholic, but I'm not imposing my will on you. You have a right to vote, as I have a right to vote. But you're taking that away from me by opening up the border. You see, and that's an outrage.
That is an outrage.
And that's an outrage. And again,
Chuck Schumer says that you're a racist.
No, but that's again, and people buy into that narrative. I'm not forcing my view on you. You have a right to vote, but so do I.
Right.
Let the better idea win in the public square.
No, I got to cut you off. But you have to remember, this is a party of the most abysmal and evil ideas that you could ever. They're not even political. Their ideas are not even political.
Well, that's why they have to bring in that population, Joe. That is exactly why. These ideas go against the working man's interest. They go against your interests. I could list a million of them. Right. They go against your interests, putting food on your table.
Right.
That's why you open up the population. You frigging basically water down the vote. And in doing that, you further hurt the working class. You lower wages. You increase rents in those neighborhoods where those
Joe,
people...
listen. We're talking about a party that's A-OK with killing babies up until the moment that they're born.
Oh, and that's
they don't care about anybody.
Sick.
They don't care. And all those Mexicans coming across the border, all those people from South America and Central America, they don't care about them either.
Oh, that's a given. Any person, you're crazy if you think that. You're just crazy. Those people are left. I see them in New York City. I've never, in the last 5 years, I've seen women and children begging on the street. You never saw that in America.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
It's a disgrace what has happened in this country. It's a disgrace, dude.
But here's the thing. And this is what a lot of people have not wanted to understand for a long time. They called it conspiracy theory. They dismissed it. They attacked Joe McCarthy, who I've said on the show before. I am a fan of Joe McCarthy because he was exactly right in everything he did and everything he said. There were communists all over the place. There are people in the government who claim to be American, and in the population too, by the way. I am going to criticize some of our fellow citizens. You don't like America. You don't like our Constitution. You don't like that Joe and I could do this show right now without being sanctioned by the federal government. You don't like the idea of America because you are the freedom-hating people, not me. I'm not afraid of freedom, Joe. I'm not afraid. If somebody wants to do something that is totally abhorrent to me and the law allows it, I'm not afraid of them having the right to do it or the freedom. I'm saying they have a right, the freedom to do it. But these people hate Joe. They sit there in their homes and they cry and they go like this. How does Joe and Joe have the right to say this? It's called the First Amendment, pal. It's called the Constitution of the United States. If you can't deal with it mentally or psychologically, maybe you should go and get some therapy. But I'm prepared to say that you have a right to spew your nonsense. And if you think what Joe and I are spewing is nonsense, you have a right to come on this very same platform and say that we're spewing nonsense. Not everybody agrees with us. My point, Joe, is we have to stop saying that these are our fellow citizens. If you are a citizen, you believe in our system. Let me give you a quick example, because this does not exist anymore. If you had Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who was an Irish Catholic from New York, who was pro-abortion, obviously we disagree with him, okay? And you had other senators on the other side. Daniel Patrick Moynihan respected the American system and understand you win sometimes, you lose sometimes, you got to play politics, blah, blah, blah. He loved America. I could disagree with him. You could disagree with him. He loved America. These people don't. Cory Booker doesn't love America. AOC
They
doesn't
love
love.
power, dude.
Exactly. That's my point, Joe.
It's sick. It's just
they want power.
It's sick and it's sad. It's sad that anyone believes it. And again, there's plenty of Republicans I could say the same thing about.
And we do.
Plenty.
And we do.
And we do. And we do. It's not. I'm not a Republican. I'm an American. I'm a Catholic, and I have eyes. And it's obvious that the system, in so many ways, works against regular people. I've had it, Joe. I'll be truthful with you. I've absolutely, positively had it. And I don't know how other people can't feel the same way. I don't know how other people can't see that.
I think they do. And we're going to move on. We're coming up on towards the end, but we want to have this conversation about the EU. I think they do, Joe. And you want to know what? Trump's resurrection, if you will, and winning in 2024, that has less to do with him. I will give him credit. I'm not taking credit away from him. That has more to do with us. That has more to do with us. Say, you tried to kill this guy. You tried to destroy this guy. Now, hopefully, Tulsi Gabbard is going to put Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama in an orange jumpsuit, okay, by referring that whole case about the Russia collusion hoax to the DOJ. And hopefully we'll see that. Is that I credit the American people along the lines of what you just said. We do see that. And as fallible as he is, we said, at least that guy is not trying to hurt me, my family, my income, my job, okay? He's not trying to automate me out of existence. He actually is trying to get some money from these other, which we're about to talk about, from these other countries because he's on my side. So at the very least, those I could look at it and say, I'm voting against a party that hates me as a person because I actually believe that there's a First Amendment and a Second Amendment and all the amendments and the structure of our country. I believe in our Constitution as a good form of government. It's not the Bible, but it's a good form of government, and I respect it. And I firmly believe, Joe, these people can't stand it. How dare the government give those two Italian guys from New Jersey a right to speak that nonsense on social media? I believe there's people out there, and a lot of them, by the way. Not just some fringe element.
It's all about them. Like I said, I have no problem. Say whatever you want. Let the best idea win. Let's inform our people. How about our press actually puts both sides of a position out there? No, but this is why it's about power. Right. And here's the good thing. You can find good information on the internet. The internet's not all filled with crap. You have experts, college professors, economics like folks, people who could tell you serious, deep insights into geopolitical issues that are not being told to you on ABC News.
That's right.
It's your fault. Are you listening even simply to C-SPAN? Hearing it from, we talked about Josh Hawley, talking about basically insider trading. This is not a political conversation. It's criminal. They're taking
right.
advantage of information and
You
getting
used
rich.
the right word. You used the
And
right word,
yet,
criminal.
people vote for these people.
That's right.
How? How?
Well,
How?
because I'll be honest with you, because I'm with E. Michael Jones on this, and I know I bring him up a lot here at the front line with Joe and Joe. I'm with E. Michael Jones because they've sold you the things that you think are going to make you happy.
Bingo. That's a big part of it. Joe, you hit it right on the head.
You want contraception. You want abortion. If you're a mother and your son comes home and says he's gay, you don't want anybody to stop him from being gay. That's a big part of it,
and that's exactly, to be honest with you, here's a little carrot. Take it. And then they rob your wallet with your other hand.
They rob.
That is what's been going on in New Jersey for as long as I've been alive.
That's right.
As long as I've been alive. Oh, you like this little stupid thing? You like this? Here?
Right.
Take this, and then they rob you.
That's right.
That has been going on. And frankly, that was like Barack Obama. We're going to give you a cell phone, free high-speed internet, this thing, abortion, same-sex marriage. Meanwhile, all your country's falling apart. You can't walk from the subway. It's insane. It's insane.
It's a disaster. Joe, when people, like these same people we're talking about, and I know we're being judgmental, but tonight I actually don't care, okay? When you think about, and I'm not saying even most of them even think about it, the line in 1984 where the character O'Brien looks at Winston, he says, listen, Winston, picture a boot stomping on a human face, and that is the future. That is the future of humanity. And anybody who's out there who would vote for this BS, when they think, oh, that's so horrible, you're voting for that.
No,
you are voting for the boot in your face, and you're so. And I'm sorry, Joe, to be so. I'm so sorry to be judgmental tonight. You're so stupid that you don't even realize that the boot's on your. Boot's not on my face. Boot's not on. Don't put a bullet in our heads. But you'll have a boot on your face, and you won't even know it all because you want to have an abortion. Or these wishy-washy men who say I'm MAGA, but not when it comes to abortion, because I want my daughter to have that right. What, you want your daughter to have the right to kill your grandchild? You stupid idiot. Is that what you want? The boot's on your face, dude. You could think you're free all you want, but you're not. Okay, the boot's on your face. Let's go. Let's talk about boots on faces. Okay, let's talk about Europe. Trump just punched them right in the face.
Oh, dude. Well, it shows you he basically, listen, we are a sovereign nation, and Trump used leverage. He basically told them how it was. Basically, your economy is driven by our economy, and you're going to pay. You want to do business with us? You're going to pay. And what she said, yes, this is my message to the countries of Europe, countries like Portugal, countries like Spain, countries like Italy. I want out of the EU. The EU is nothing more than feudalism. Let me explain to people how the politics of the EU work. So every country is a sovereign nation, Portugal, Spain, France. So how this works is similar to how it works here. They have to fight it out and come to some agreement and pass a law. Then it goes to Brussels. And then it has to go through another level of politics. So basically, if you live in Portugal, nothing that's good for Portugal, for the most part, happens. Right. It's all about a larger Europe. Portugal, the guy on the street, is completely forgotten. And then, basically, Trump comes in and he basically says, listen, clearly, our worldviews are different here. You're basically turning into a totalitarian state. You want to suppress speech. It's obvious. Platforms in France are completely banned. Banned. People are getting arrested in the UK and Ireland for basically tweeting things. Mm-hmm. Arrested. Right. So Trump rightfully, J.D. Vance warned them in Munich. It was a famous speech that he gave fairly recently. Comes in and he says, Okay, friend. Clearly, our worldview isn't on the same page, and your economy is dependent on mine. So guess what? You are going to pay. And they say, absolutely, sir, because we need you. And that's exactly what happened. And what happens to the regular guy? And this is like I said, if I was a person in Portugal or in Spain or in France or in Italy, I want out of the EU. The EU is a disaster. It is an absolute disaster. And it's another example, if you're paying attention, of a country that was a secular democracy, no mention of God. Anytime man leaves God out and he's left to his own basically abilities and moral construct, it always turns into totalitarianism. Always.
Mm-hmm.
Because man is interested in self and power. God is the control. It basically keeps man in check. I have to account to something bigger than myself because one day I'm going to stand before that person. So I can't just trample over somebody.
Right.
And that is what Europe has turned into. Example, 1,007,007,000,000,000. I mean, it's just example after example after example of that.
Yeah.
But people don't want to hear it because people don't want to live under an authority. They want to do whatever the hell they want to do, and they destroy themselves in the process.
But here's my thing. Okay, here's my thing. But then if that's what you want to do, don't vilify me. Don't call me a racist and an anti-Semite and a misogynist and a homophobe and all the names you want to call me. By the way, all that boy that cries wolf bullshit, Joe, because that's what it is. That's you call somebody racist now. Most people now go, well, I don't, you know.
Oh, they destroyed that, and that's a horrible thing.
That. Same with anti-Semite, same with misogynist, same with all of it. People are like, oh, listen, anybody who disagrees, you just call them those names. You have no foundation for it. Let's recap for our audience here at the front line with Joe and Joe very quickly what Trump did with Europe. Okay, is two things happened last week. Trump earlier in the week, before the 1st of August, where he had threatened to go back to 30% tariffs on most countries on the 1st of August. The EU and the United States came to an agreement whereby, and check this out for all those think that Trump is stupid, our goods going into Europe will pay 0 tariff. Their goods coming into the United States will pay 15% tariff, and they have agreed, guaranteed, to buy $750 billion worth of American energy. Last time I checked, Joe, that's a win. I don't care how you want to spin that. I don't care who tries to spin that. That's a win. The market went up. Then August 1st happened on Friday. The market went down, I think, about 400 or 500 points because other countries don't want to do what the EU did, which is to say, the United States has told us that the game is up. The jig is up. We can't rob their people anymore and make them pay, but our people are not going to pay. So we're going to have to come to an agreement. And let's be clear about France, by the way. And you know I work in the restaurant industry, Joe. You throw a 30% tariff on Dom Perignon, my restaurant charges $500 for a bottle of Dom Perignon. That price goes up to $600 if those tariffs went into effect. Guess what France did? They caved. Okay? Now, aside from the economics, okay, everything you said is exactly right. They are so off the deep end. They are so far gone. The continent that created by the Catholic Church, by the way, Western civilization, has done everything in their power to destroy Western civilization. Well, here's the thing. If you're going to do that, and I think this is where it ties in to Trump holding them accountable, if you're going to throw over Western civilization, that's a YP. That's your problem. Here's where it's not our problem, okay? We're not paying for you anymore. We're not paying for your stupid wars. We're not paying for your war with Ukraine, even though we are still sending money to Ukraine. Having said that, we're not paying for your stupid wars. Squabble against each other, do what you want. But here's what's not going to happen. You're not robbing our people anymore. You're going to pay. If you want to be on our side, that's fine, but you're going to pay. That's where I think it ties in. With Europe's suicide mission, which they've been on for quite some time, but they've always relied on our money, our military, our people, guys like you and me and the people watching us here at the front line with Joe and Joe, paying the tariffs on their products. Okay, but then our products can't go there because they put a much higher tariff on it. Well, guess what? At the very least, those days are over.
And how did our leadership permit that? People like Clinton, people like George Bush, people like Barack Obama, people like Joe Biden. How did we permit that? Would you allow someone to take advantage of your people? And the why? Because they took advantage of us because we're not informed. And frankly, they don't care about us. Only a select few have benefited from this type of policy. It's the institutional democracy. That's the democracy that they talk about. It has nothing to do with democracy, and it has nothing to do with you.
Right.
It has nothing to do with you.
Nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with you.
They don't care about your children. They don't care about their future. They only care about a select group of people. And that's why 6 out of the 10 wealthiest counties in America are in Virginia and Maryland. That is it's like the king in his court, just like in the feudal times. What is produced there? How is there such a concentration of wealth? I'll tell you how. Contractors and lobbyists run the show. That's who's listened to. You don't believe me? Listen to Tulsi Gabbard when she was in Congress. She had the ticket, the golden ticket. They would put her on the fast track to climb the ladder. She gave it back. She gave it back. And she'll tell you what a day in the life of a congressman's all about, who they talk to, what they're courting. It's all about money for their campaigns. And then when it comes time to vote, they throw you that little carrot. Oh, you're interested in abortion. Oh, here's your little stupid crumb. Enjoy it while I rob your future, while I basically steal the future of your children. Are you paying attention?
I don't know. I will say this, Joe. We're gonna call it a night, but I will say this, and we've said this before on the show all the time. And by the way, this includes Republicans and MAGA people in this statement that I'm about to make. If I was a candidate that had a long list of things that most people in America could agree with, but there was one thing that I insisted on, was the abolition of abortion. Part of that long list, that most of which you agree with, I'm going to abolish abortion, and I will fight for it as a top priority. You mark my words, I would not win, Joe.
Oh, 100%.
And I'm talking about the other 19 points, Joe, are all Trump's agenda,
100%.
MAGA agenda.
Agreed.
All right now. If you turn around and said, I'm banning abortion in America, no more baby killing, but we're going to get everything else, guaranteed I'm losing.
That's a fact. And that's a symptom of a larger issue in the country. And that's what can't be fixed by politics.
That's right.
You see, a healthy society does not do that. A healthy society, Joe, I'm going to tell you right now, gets married, stays married, loves their spouse, raises children,
right.
Makes that a top priority, is open to life, worships God, cares about their neighbor. That's a healthy society.
That's a very healthy society.
And that is not what we have.
No.
We do not have that.
What you just described is the opposite of what we have.
And
remember the story, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, the gospel or the first reading, and I'm glad we mentioned this. All right, so stick with us for a minute at the front line with Joe and Joe, where Abraham says to the Lord, and he says, if there's 50 people there, will you still destroy them? He says, no, I won't. He said, well, what if there's 45? He goes, no, I won't destroy Sodom and Gomorrah if there's 40. What about if there's 30, Lord? What about if there's 20? What about if there's 10? And I've always said this, and I always believe this, and I think I'm right. I'm not a Bible expert. Is that God was saying to Abraham, I agree with you, but there's not one. And I think that America, no, there are many, many, many people in America. We are not at that point yet. But we got to fight, Joe. We got to fight against this bullshit. I'm sorry to curse. I cursed a couple times tonight, and I'm sorry. But we have to fight against it and stop worrying about you. Look, I want to live a comfortable life. You want to live. I don't want problems. But what's the result of not confronting this stuff? You're going to have even more problems.
What about your kids?
Right.
See, this is another thing. Like, I have 5 kids. I had a great life. I don't think my kids are going to have the life that I had.
Unless we fight.
And this is what I'm saying. Like, people aren't paying attention. They're not paying attention. I got news for you. Your kid's not going to have the life that you had. It's just a reality. It's a reality. Look at the statistics. Look at the numbers. In the last 10 years, housing prices have gone up $130,000 on your average house.
Sure,
How is your kid going to afford a house? AI is coming around the corner. So many jobs are going to disappear.
Joe, my job, I think I told you before the show, I can't guarantee as AI grows, my particular job that I have at the restaurant I work at, very easily AI could do away with that. Very easily. And I have to fear for that. But then you want me to love my country and you want me to love what the politicians do, but you won't put the brakes on some of this stuff that you're not supposed to serve the economy. You're not supposed to serve technology.
People.
You're supposed to serve the people. Technology and the economy are supposed to serve the people. Not supposed to be the other way around. Oh, it's going to happen anyway. Doesn't have to. We have free will. You could say, no, we'll use AI for certain good things.
Perfect example of that. In India, the government does not allow big box stores into the country.
I love it.
They don't allow it. Like Walmart is not in India because they know it will crush the regular person. Right. You see, that's a choice of our ruling class. Our ruling class, I'll give you another example. And this, and I'm not picking on Bill Clinton. I'm just using an example. Bill Clinton allowed pharmaceutical commercials. We're one of 2 countries that allow that. That means basically advertising dollars dictate policy. Right. That is what that is. There's a reason why that wasn't permitted. Bill Clinton allowed it. How much money did he get? I bet you because of that. That's you see, but that's a choice that's anti-people. That's pro a select few. That's just an example.
The people that vote for them, the people that would vote for Bill Clinton, the people that would vote for Hillary Clinton know that that's a lot of BS, but they'll vote for him anyway because he's going to take care of their abortion and everything else.
And that is where people, again, to your point, perfect example. Here's your crumb as I rob you and the future of your children.
That's right.
That is where, and I just sit there and I say, wow.
We're gonna make sure.
I don't know.
I'm gonna reach out to E. Michael Jones again and have him on the show, and we're gonna talk about specifically his book Libido Dominandi, where he talks about how, if you want to know why people are controlled the way they are, he's the guy to talk to, because people, when you're offered the sexual liberation, that mentality, the contraception, the abortion, the gay marriage, the trans, all of it all has a source. And E. Michael Jones is the perfect person to talk about. Joe, I'm going to reach out to him and see if he wants to come on and talk about specifically about that book. Because if you want to know why people, Joe, you just asked it. I know you know the answer. But the thing is, if you want to know why people would vote against their own interests vis-a-vis their spouses and their families, you don't need to look any further than sexual liberation. And we said that on the show a million times. So I'm going to reach out. Joe, let's call it a night. It's been about an hour and 15 minutes. We love you all for joining us here. We have some new people. Eric's out there. Hey, Eric, how you doing? Eric says he said, you got 5 kids. God bless you. He said, I have no kids and no wife. Eric, as my big fat Greek wedding, as the father in that movie said, get married, have babies. All right, it'll do you a world of good. But we love you, Eric, and thank you for coming on. We got a lot of our regulars here. Too long to go into, but we got Robert Antonella, so many others. We love you so much for joining us, as you always do. Our schedule has been a little bit crazy lately, but you catch up with us, and it's great. Wherever you're seeing the show, like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. We do plan on going on this Thursday night at 9 o'clock Eastern time. We'll get some more clips in. Tonight we went a little old school. We thank you so much for joining us. And remember, until the next time, that our conversation is your conversation, and that conversation is going on everywhere. We'll talk to you soon.